You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion of the world.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
How you doing, folks? This is Mr. Green, and we are on another podcast from the rights and wrongs of pro wrestling. The subject today is the WWE Divas Revolution, or in this case, the lack thereof. And I know that, they made some genuine effort in there, but it just doesn't seem to be working out quite as well as I would have liked, and apparently not as well as a lot of people would have liked. I've heard several people that just didn't feel like it's moving in quite the direction that it should be moving. So let's recap a little bit as we talk about this revolution thing. First off, we know that it came primarily based out of the effort, the quality of matches, the surprise that the ladies of NXT have been doing with their matches, particularly at the NXT TakeOver shows, although they basically have good matches week in and week out. But when they are on those TakeOver shows, they do turn it up a notch, as is evident by the Brooklyn TakeOver show, Bayley versus Sasha Banks. If you haven't had a chance to watch that, you need to take some time. If you don't watch anything else that was produced that entire weekend, you should watch it. I mean, it is a very arguable point that Bayley and Sasha Banks may have had the single best match that entire weekend. And that's saying a lot. And I mean that male or female. I mean, if they weren't the best, they easily are in the top 5. Easily. And that's covering a lot of ground. You got to remember, you're talking about NXT TakeOver, followed by SummerSlam, followed by Monday Night Raw. And to say that they would be in the top 5 of 3 nights back-to-back in the Barclays Center, that is high praise. But in any case, it is the effort of those ladies that have made those things possible. Now, when they were introduced back a couple of months ago in Atlanta, Georgia, when they were brought out by Stephanie McMahon saying, there's a revolution on the rise, and she introduced Charlotte, she introduced Sasha Banks, she introduced Becky Lynch to the public at large. There were big things that were kind of looked at there, and they started off strong. The first major change that happened when those ladies hit the roster was the matches got longer. Beforehand, you could literally blink and the Divas matches would be over. Or you could get up and get a sandwich. By the time you come back, it's done. They may have had a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops on the average on any given Monday Night Raw, which only showed you that they were just there for filler. They weren't anything important to the show. And in a 3-hour broadcast, a lot of us say, how can you not have time to do this in a 3-hour broadcast? I mean, really, is it that difficult to slot in a reasonable Divas match in that amount of time? I would not think so, but then again, I'm not sitting down trying to construct a 3-hour show, so I don't want to make guesses such as that. But in any case, it's nice to see that they have an extension of time placed on their matches. The problem that we have with the matches pertaining to this Divas Revolution is that it still seems very unorganized. It doesn't seem like there's any proper theme that's going on here, other than the fact that we got 3 teams of ladies, 3 women apiece, and we're all at it against each other, which doesn't make a great deal of sense to me, because one of the things that makes wrestling, and I know Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn don't particularly like to use that terminology, but it's my show, so I can say what I want. What makes wrestling is the the conflict between either a person or a unit that people can get behind, and we want to see the end result of good conquering evil, for lack of a better term. This particular thing here has none of that. I mean, let's just go ahead and say it right now. It has none of that. It has no direction, no clear direction whatsoever. First off, it's a three-team race. It's a three-team race with no clear idea of who's the babyface and who's the heels. The only thing that you know for certain is that Team Bad is technically the heels, but then again, Team Bella is supposed to technically be the heels also. But they flip flop back and forth depending on what they're doing that week. So you don't know whether you're rooting for them or not. Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Paige have been positioned as the baby faces in this thing. But being the baby faces in this, what is their objective? What are they trying to do? Nothing has been established as for what they need to do. Are they trying to eliminate the Bellas from Monday Night Raw altogether? Are they trying to, you know, just prove that they're better wrestlers? Are they trying to win the Divas Championship? If that is the case, there has been little to no effort made by them or any of them to try to win that championship, which should be the goal for any woman there. This right now, as a storyline, is no storyline at all. It's just we have three teams of women, several of which are really good wrestlers. I don't want to discount Charlotte as being a good wrestler, or Becky Lynch, or Paige, or Sasha Banks, or Naomi for that matter. Tamina really hasn't gotten a chance to prove. I don't think she's had the opportunity to really show that what she could do. The Bellas, in all fairness to them, have gotten better over the years, but they are clearly outclassed. All due respect to them, by the girls in NXT. They just have not had that caliber of match yet, and it may be that they won't have that caliber of match. I don't know. But in any case, the point being is that there's no story here. There's nothing for you to get behind. The only theme that they have going on in this entire deal is that Nikki is en route to being the longest reigning Divas champion of all time. Now, given that, you would think that part of the story could be that, hey, we're going to stop that. We're going to, and whoever team it may be, it could be Team PCB, it could be Team Bad, but either group could make the announcement that we're going to do what we have to do to cut that off before she gets to this. It's her heart and soul, her fondest desire at this point to be the longest reigning Divas champion in history. We're gonna knock that off. I'm not friends with the next team, but this is what we're gonna do. I think that's a story that writes itself, and how that hasn't been portrayed is beyond me. You have things that happen on here that don't make any kind of sense. Naomi said it herself, but when she beat Nikki months ago, she beat her in a match, fair and square, clean in the middle. This is when she was still a babyface. Why does she even have to compete for a number one contendership? She should be the number one contender when you beat the champion. And by that logic, Sasha Banks should now be the number one contender. She not only beat Nikki Bella, she tapped her out. She has about as legitimate claim to being the Divas champion, or at least challenging for the Divas championship, particularly now that she's lost the NXT Women's Championship, as anybody that's there in that roster or in the Divas division. She has as much claim as any of them. Better claim than any of them, really. Paige, who feels like she has been slighted on numerous occasions. I thought that the whole point behind getting Becky Lynch and Charlotte was to watch her back so she could get a fair shake, not so she could keep going on in these multi-team matches. And that seems like all they want to do with them is like, let's put them in another six-person or three-way team match or something like that. It's pointless. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to it is a a pointless venture for these women. And the next thing was that Monday night, which I really kind of felt bad for them. The crowd crapped all over their match. They're out there chanting JBL. They're doing the wave. They're doing everything under the sun to amuse themselves, which only goes back to Vince or Kevin Dunn to make them feel, oh, well, we gave the Divas a shot. Look at them. They don't like them. Which is not what, any of us, I mean, and by us, I mean, the fans of people that actually think that the women, both inside and outside the WWE, could deliver good matches. That's not what any of us want. We wanted that crowd that they had at NXT, the ones that appreciated it, the ones that actually stood up on their feet, wanting Bayley to win and willing her to have arguably the best match that she's had in her career. Whoever was there that Saturday night was long gone by Monday because they didn't give a care about this match whatsoever. But then again, what reason did they have to care? Bayley had a story. Bayley had something that she was fighting for. She had been working to win the NXT Women's Championship for months, and she's come up short. She lost against Charlotte. She lost in the four-way. She's been beaten. Her hand's been broken. She's been turned on. She's had every opportunity, according to her, and she failed. And this was it. This was her chance. This was her biggest opportunity, and the people got behind her, and they believed in her, and she legitimately brought some people to tears out there. Not the least of which was her and Charlotte and the rest of the girls, the four horsewomen. But what is there for the people to get behind as far as the main roster girls? Nothing. Nikki Bella is the sole story that is there. And as it stands right now, she really hasn't defended the Divas Championship. She's just participated in a bunch of stuff or stood on the sidelines or something like that. And she's on this road to being the longest reigning champion, which she's probably going to hit because they look like they're protecting that. So, I mean, how could anyone inside of WWE expect this revolution, as they call it, to work when they don't give it the time and the effort to make it work? It blows my mind. It really does. And before I close it, it needs to be said that NXT, as a product of the women's division or women's wrestling as a whole, has done a phenomenal job. They have done great work. They have pushed in great strides to get that across to the wrestling fans. But somewhere it's lost in translation, man. It's like when we take it from NXT and we try to put it on Raw, and it's like they don't have the care, they don't have the love, they don't have the heart that went behind making these girls in NXT. It's just like it's not there. And I'm sorry to hear that. And in fairness, I like NXT, but they didn't invent it. To a lot of us that have watched this for a long time, we know that the WWE or NXT in particular didn't create this. They didn't create that style. They didn't create the hard-working women of wrestling. To some of us, that's been going on for years. I mean, you go back and you can look at Shimmer Volume 1, Sarah Del Rey, who happens to be the trainer down there now, versus Mercedes Martinez. Still, to this day, one of the best matches I've seen. You got women out there on the independent circuit right now, like Athena, who has insane matches. There's a match with her versus Mia Yim from AIW, absolute intense wrestling, and they just tore the house down. Even TNA, back when TNA was focused on making their women a centerpiece of their programming, they delivered the goods, and they were pitching that our girls work hard long before NXT did it. Now, that didn't really have anything to do with the Divas Revolution. Yes, I know that, but I just felt like, okay, I have to put this out there while I'm on the topic of women's wrestling. That some people outside NXT deserve credit. I'm glad that NXT was able to get it to a larger audience. And that's going to be their legacy, that They were able to present this to a much larger audience than anybody else could. TNA had the opportunity. Unfortunately, some people came in 2010, arguably Hogan and Bischoff, who didn't believe in it, and they dismantled it, and they got rid of that whole process before it ever had the chance to really take shape and grow. NXT is everything that the Knockouts division should have been. NXT Women's Division. It is everything the Knockouts division should have been. So now, NXT is in the forefront. The NXT's Women's Division is in the forefront. Raw and the Divas Revolution, however, it is really up in the air, man. It is a up in the air process. I don't know where they're going with it. I don't know if they can put this train back on the tracks. The next couple of Monday Night Raws will tell, and if hopefully they will not saddle them with another team on team on team event. That stuff has got to go. Open message to WWE. If Nikki Bella is going to be the champion, she has got to defend. Open pitch from me to WWE. I said it earlier. I will reiterate it now. The storyline here should be Nikki Bella on the road to being the longest reigning Divas champion ever. And you have 6 other women. Charlotte, Paige, Becky Lynch, Tamina, Naomi, Sasha Banks, all gunning to bring that reign to a close for their own purposes. They all want to be the one. She could have match after match after match at this point. She could do it down at Full Sail. That would be a plus, where you got the Divas champion for the first time ever showing up down there. She could have a champion versus champion match, and this time promote it like a champion versus champion match. Sasha Banks and Nikki Bella went into the ring with almost little to no fanfare or promotion, to the fact that we have the NXT Women's Champion taking on the Divas Champion first time right here tonight. None of that. She didn't even come out with the belt. If you were just to tune in, you wouldn't even know. It was no big deal to them at all. It just came and went. How can you have this be important if you don't treat it as important? But back to the pitch. She could go down to Full Sail. It's a building that you have a lock and key on. She can have that match with Bayley, who could probably carry her to a pretty good match. You can have one-on-ones. You got the network. Matches that are set and ready. To toss them on Monday Night Raw. And then, of course, Team Bella, their entire objective, they take the horseman route. Our goal is to protect the champion. Brie is there to protect the champion. Alicia Fox is there to protect the champion. And we will do whatever it is that we have to do to ensure that Nikki is the single greatest Divas champion that has ever lived. That is what one of those girls should be looking in that camera and saying. Make those people believe. Make them care. You already know that half of those fans out there don't like the Bellas. All due respect to the Bellas, but half of them fans out there do not respect the Bellas. They don't look at them as wrestlers. They don't think of them as wrestlers. They just look at them as models that got a free pass because of who they're tied up with. That may not be the case, but that's the truth. That's what most people believe out of them. Regardless of how much they've improved, regardless of how much they may have worked to try to earn the spot, most people look at them as just girls that got a free pass. And if that's the case, if that's what the fans believe, use that to get some of that emotion drawn out of the audience. Make those people hate the Bellas, keep them as the clear heels where people are begging for Nikki to lose. They don't want to see her become the longest reigning Divas champion of all time. Have her have those Divas matches and escape by the skin of her teeth. If it takes Brie and Alicia Fox cheating blatantly to get a disqualification, where she's losing matches, but she's not losing the title because of disqualification, do that. Anything. You know, that there are matches and there are ways, and I'm not telling you anything that the WWE doesn't already know. They just haven't executed it. But as it stands right now, if I were to grade the Divas Revolution right now, today, based on how they have presented the champion versus champion match, based on their SummerSlam appearance, based on their appearance on Monday Night Raw, based on how the crowd has reacted to them, I'd say they've earned a solid D at best. I mean, maybe a low C, but a solid D. It's just not. It's It's not engaging. It hasn't captured me, and I know that all of those girls are better than that. I know they're absolutely better, and I want better for them than that. But that's that. That is the review for the Divas Revolution, and I sincerely hope that Stephanie McMahon, I know Triple H believes in his girls, and I hope that he gets the message also. I hope that they are able somehow to take the reins of this and turn this around before it's too late, before the fans turn on them and they start crapping on the Divas division and forcing it back to where it was, where it's just a 2-minute match here, a 3-minute match there, and nobody cares. Multi-person matches don't make anybody advance. That's just my opinion. I'm not an expert. All right, folks, that's it. If you have the time, first off, thank you for your support for coming on this channel, listening to our podcast either here or on SoundCloud or at WPNWrestling.com. We appreciate all of those things. Every bit of your support helps. It keeps us going. Everything that you do, every website click, every video that you watch, every blog that you read, every time that you like Facebook, it all helps. The numbers help. Believe me, it really does. If you haven't gone through some of the YouTube channel stuff, if you want to see some other ladies wrestling, we got a lot of those available for you, from the Black Widow to Rock and Roll Roxy, Tiffany Rocks, Pandora, Super Pereira, Dementia the Rose, Crazy Mary Dobson. There's a whole slew of them available for you right now and free on YouTube. Don't have to pay a dime. All you got to do is just continue to give your support, and we will be able to produce more of this stuff. And hopefully, as time goes on, maybe we can up the ante a little bit and start getting some full and more robust content for you to dip into. But until that time, thank you again for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next podcast and see you on the next match. So long, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.